when Coming in Hot came out, my second special on Netflix, that's the one Steven Spielberg watched. And when he saw it, he brought me in and basically asked, do I have a movie idea? And I pitched Easter Sunday. This is the movie about my family, and I pitched it in the room, and literally they bought it in the room, and here we are now talking to you with one of the greatest actors of our generation, Lydia Gaston.
Hi, I'm Doni Alicea. Welcome to this bonus episode of Mixed Take, a World Outspoken podcast where we discuss film, television, entertainment, representation, and why we think it's worthy of deeper conversations.
And I'm Robert Rivera, and you guys are in for a treat today because we have a special interview with none other than
Bum ba da bum, Joe Koy. Oh, my bad.
Oh, let's say that at the same time. Bum ba da bum,
Joe Koy and
Lydia Gaston.
Gaston.
I say Gaston. Yes.
Gaston. Yeah,
so
right. I think Gaston from like Beauty and the Beast, but yes, you're right. Gaston.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, without further ado, let's get into the interview.
Here we go.
First of all, congratulations on this funny / heartwarming film. And wanted to know just, I guess this is pointed first at you, Joe. Has this been a dream to star in a movie for quite some time, or is this just an opportunity that arose recently?
So, this is my 33rd year in stand-up. And the one thing that's so important to me is telling my story. I'm a storyteller. I love stand-up comedy. I breathe it. But most importantly was my story and being authentic and standing my ground, because, in Hollywood, it's too specific, especially when I was coming up. It's too specific. And that was the note that I would always get. And I would hate it because I didn't understand it. Because I see in the audience that it's not specific. I see nothing but every race, every color, every religion in the audience laughing and relating to my story. The same way I would get inspired by Eddie Murphy and hearing his story and relating to him talking about his Aunt Bunny or his Uncle Gus. And I would sit there and go, oh my God, I have an Aunt Bunny. I have an Uncle Gus. They're not black, but I get it. That's my family. And that's what I always wanted with my stories. And, when Coming in Hot came out, my second special on Netflix, that's the one Steven Spielberg watched. And when he saw it, he brought me in and basically asked, do I have a movie idea? And I pitched Easter Sunday. This is the movie about my family. And I pitched it in the room, and literally they bought it in the room. And here we are now talking to you with one of the greatest actors of our generation, Lydia Gaston, who played my mom. It was like, this is a fairy tale, and I am living the dream right now. And all I want to do is just be a stand-up comic. And this movie is basically the bonus features on a DVD for me. This is just like the frosting on the cake, and what a beautiful moment that we get to share this story with you.
So as viewers, what a beautiful invitation into the Filipino culture. So thank you for creating such a masterful piece of art for us to enjoy, to laugh at, to identify with. Yeah. And I think what we're seeing on screen is decades and decades of hard work, of chasing after this, being able to tell your story. So can you, the both of you, Joe and Lydia, talk to us about the highs, the lows, what has, kind of the journey in Hollywood to get to this point?
Lydia.
For me, the journey was was really a lot in theater and dance before this is my first movie, and I've done some television. But when I first came here, the only job that I was right for was The King and I, touring with Yul Brynner. And it was a little easier to get into dance companies that were smaller, because if you tried out for the big ballet companies, it was not very diverse. And actually TV was a little easier because they were looking for all types, especially for The Sopranos, where I did a Filipino madam. And
Heyo.
and yeah. So and I really I really appreciate this being cast in this film, because it's an opportunity for me to show my work as an older actress, and also, you know, portray a character that I pretty much know very well. So yeah,
Lydia was a beast.
it's been what?
Lydia was a beast of an actress. I mean, knocked this character out of the park. It was almost there were moments where I really felt like my mom was in front of me. There were scenes where I cried. You know, there was a couple scenes where I physically cried and I got very emotional. Oh, and the most important part that we can all take from this movie is things that were normalized when Lydia and I were coming through the rankings. You know what I mean? The late 80s and 90s. We don't want that normalized anymore. You know what I mean? A story can be told no matter what ethnicity, what race you are. You know, a Filipino can go out for a mom character and not be specific. You can just be a mom. You know what I mean? And that's what this movie means to us, not only for the AAPI community, but just for all of us in general. It's like, let's stop that already. We don't need to be specific. You know what I mean? Like right now we're doing an interview and look at this. This is all of us relating about a movie. So why every time we want to represent or do a movie, it's like we got to separate each other. I just don't get it. It's so, that's what I feel like this movie is doing. And God bless Steven Spielberg and Universal and DreamWorks for putting their hand on this project and blessing it.
Now, in the movie, your character Joe is asked to kind of replicate this Filipino accent, or what they perceive to be an accent. Do you feel like that has been a lot of your journey, for both of you to kind of be typecast in a specific role?
That's where that scene came from. It's based on what happens to me all the time. It's either I go out for Asian guy, you know, or they see my stand up and they love it so much, and then they're like, "Hey, do that accent." It's like, well, I'm auditioning for a basketball player. Why the accent? I could just be a basketball player. The joke isn't the accent. The joke is about a mom being a mom. When I'm on stage, it's just my mom. She has an accent, but she's speaking English, but that's not the joke. You know what I mean? That's a mom being a mom. So it's just, it always bothered me that was singled out. So I always got offended by that. It's like I know you hear the joke, but why is it the accent that you want? Because you know that this is a relatable topic. My mom is acting just like your mom. There's no difference. So I just didn't. Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about how important it is to have Filipino representation in film and why that's important?
I think it's there's a lot of very talented Filipino artists and actors in the States, and so it's been, usually we don't really work together because there's only one part for Filipino, or let's make the doctor Filipino, or let's make the servant Filipino. So it is very important for us to see Filipinos portray different kinds of Filipinos in community in our American world. So I think that's exciting. That's really exciting. And in the film, in Easter Sunday, the families are all from different walks of life, So I think it's really important, very exciting.
Yeah,
I think there's a
Don't
two-part
you think,
answer to
Joe?
that too. There's a two-part answer to
Yeah.
that. Uh, one, just in general, we when we live in this country, we tend to forget that there's other people here that have voices, and they live amongst you, and they don't get a chance to be heard or seen. And what I mean by that, it doesn't mean to. We don't need a TV show with a Vietnamese mailman or an Indian doctor. We don't need that. It could just be anything. It could be guy working at coffee house. It could be businessman. It doesn't. For some reason we separate ourselves on the big screen or even on the TV screen, and we have to like be specific with ethnicities. It's like, oh, a nurse, okay, it has to be Filipino, and it's like, yeah, that's as general as that is. It doesn't have to be that way. Like I want this movie to be the inspiration to show that all these actresses and actors on that big screen can play any character. My cousin in that in this movie, Eugene Cadero. Are you kidding me? He's phenomenal. And all these and his character description was cousin. That's it. And that should be the norm for Hollywood now. Everyone should just be able to go out for any character and just crush it. And then on top of that, how important is this all Filipino cast? Well, finally we get a voice, you know? Finally we get to go into work and be like, and celebrate something and go, oh, look, we got a movie about us. Go check it out. Steven Spielberg produced it. Like, that's a beautiful thing to be recognized and not feel so unnoticed. You know what I mean? To just walk in the dark like my mom did when she first moved to this country, where there is no representation. When she turns on TV or goes to movies, she doesn't see anything that looks like her or hears like or hear her voice at all. Well, that's what this movie is. This is that movie where everyone gets to see, not only that that aren't Filipino get to see what our culture is all about, but the people that are Filipino finally get to go check us out. And then when you walk out, you're going to be like, see, we're just like you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much for taking time to chat with us, to share your artistry, your creativity, your actors, singers, dancers, comedians, authors. I love every bit of who you are. I'm excited for what's next. And thank you again for taking time to chat with us.
Yeah, best of luck. Hope this opens lots of doors.
Thank you.
What was that thing that made me cheer? You said it's an invitation of what?
An invitation to your culture, to learn more about just a Filipino life, family dynamics, the immigrant journey. One of the things I really enjoy about storytelling is kind of what you said about Eddie Murphy in the beginning. We can relate so much because it's just a human experience, feeling out of place. There's a dominant culture. Not being a part of the dominant culture, you kind of have to find where your puzzle piece is in a 1,000-piece puzzle.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time because the puzzle changes. You know, stuff changes, technology changes, people change, communities change. So I think for us, especially me as a viewer, I felt an invitation into learning your stories, your family dynamics, and I guess an invitation into seeing how similar the human experience is. You know, the fabric of our DNA is just people trying to make it, loving one another along the way, cheering each other on.
Yeah.
So I am a huge fan of yours, Joe Koy and Lydia Gaston. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's always such a breath of fresh air for AAPI, Black, Brown people to talk about representation and how important it is for our stories to be shared, and how cool it is to see people like Steven Spielberg approaching individuals to ask, how can we be sharing your story? Like, what a woke thing to do, to actually be like, okay, we want to put your story on the silver screen. How do we go about doing that? You know, you tell us. And for Joe to be brave enough to share his, like, put his family up there and out there like that. Because one of the interesting things about Joe Koy is he was raised by a single parent mom. And in the film, he has a single parent mom. So it's like, oh, this is probably, you know, obviously there's cinematics to the film that, you know, whatever, blow the story out of proportion, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. I think what I got out of that interview is that this movie is really kind of a love letter, not just to the Filipino culture, but one to his family.
Yeah.
And it really represents a lot of the experience that he's gone through.
It reminds me of have you seen The Bear on Hulu?
Yeah.
Such a phenomenal show, also a love letter, but to Chicago and that family dynamic piece of how we all come from families that are completely imperfect, and the imperfections vary from family to family, but the dynamic of like somebody's crazy, somebody is super extra,
Yep.
maybe there's some mental health issues there, just like all the things that go into making a mixed salad, like there's some nuts and some, this and that. And I think Easter Sunday hit home on that piece of, man, it's a crazy family, crazy dynamics, but we love each other and we're trying to navigate our way as best we can through, our journey to this country. For in the film Joe Valencia, his mom Susan, played by the amazing Lydia Gaston, she is the immigrant and raising her kid, and he's got to choose sometimes. All right, am I going to do the American dream thing and follow my job and career and all that stuff, or am I going to show up for my family? Can we do both? Sure. Navigating those waters is really hard, but
and there's layers to it too, because do I follow my dream and sacrifice family? Also, I don't know what the right word here is, but assimilate's not the right word, but where he would just give in to the pressure of Hollywood to fabricate an accent that is inauthentic to himself, because that's what the audience expects to see.
Yeah.
Expects to hear when they see him.
Yeah, it's like Latinos and blacks playing roles of the gangbanger, the drug dealer,
the immigrant,
Absolutely. And it's like, but I'm not a cholo, or I don't have a thick Latino accent, or, I don't want to play the part of a groundskeeper, like, give me something else here. And it's very cool to see a film where it's an all Filipino cast telling us a Filipino story, giving us a snapshot into what a Filipino life and relationships look like.
Yeah, I don't want to play the role of a gangbanger. I left that life. I don't.
Oh boy, absolutely. You left it far behind, huh?
Yeah.
I know. What were some of the things that you that really stood out to you in the film that you really enjoyed?
Well, like I said, I think we talked about this off camera before, but I did appreciate that family aspect of, things are not negotiable. Family gatherings are not negotiable. That's how I grew up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you don't show up for a holiday, you better have a really good reason. If you don't show up, it's kind of like you're phasing your way out of their hearts.
I don't even know that I never not showed up for, especially like the big ones.
Doni, you and your entire family go see movies together.
It's
opening
true.
day Marvel movie. It's like you guys are rolling 12 deep.
12 if we go on family vacation. I mean, we've gone on a couple family vacations where we had, I want to say, over 25, 30 people. Like aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, mom, like everybody is there. That's pretty typical. So you're right. I remember bringing a friend to a family gathering of sorts, and they asked when we got there, they were like, "Oh, is this a family reunion?" And I was like, "Nah, it's just Saturday." Like it's just what happens. We hang out and that's that. Okay, cool.
What was the truck that the guy was trying to the business? It wasn't a taco truck. It turned into like
a hype truck.
The hype truck. That's right.
Hype truck.
That's right.
I mean, who would even think of a hype truck with like Gucci stuff and purses and jewelry? It's pretty funny, but man, is there even that much room to
To be
hold all
honest
the
with you,
inventory
they missed out. I actually thought I needed to see some more of that
of the
hype
hype
truck.
truck?
Like I want to see that in action. Like show me
Yeah.
this thing in its full glory. But I guess
I-
he sold all of the things, right, to try to pay for the truck.
Well, and yeah, that's true. It was part of the story, but also it's probably like, production time. It's like, we'll write that thing out. Never mind. But I agree.
Maybe it was a gag that went on for too long or something.
Yeah, true. I feel though that you would actually need a hype bus, because then you can actually like music and people can actually like turn up. Anyway,
So a party bus.
party bus, exactly.
Yeah.
Another little factoid about Joe Koy is that he is the author of Mixed Plate. So having the author of Mixed Plate on the podcast of Mixed Take was a pretty sweet and special thing.
It's poetic.
It really is. Did you know that Joe Koy has a day in Hawaii that's dedicated to him?
No.
November 24th is
Joe
Joe
Koy Day.
Koy Day, which I feel like is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it seems. I was just gonna say one thing. It seems like he doesn't have his eyes set on becoming a big movie star.
Yeah.
Like he loves the space that he's in right now as a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
I think this movie was meaningful to him because there was so much of his own personal life that was infused into it, and you could tell he's really excited, and I love to see that excitement too.
I agree.
To know that this is something that brings him joy, and Donnie, I really do hope it does open up more representation for Filipinos.
Same.
We grew up around so many Filipinos, and yet really, I can't think of any movies or TV shows.
Well, really, Hello, Love, Goodbye on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen that one. Like, literally, I was like, what Filipino, like, all Filipino cast type of, and even that isn't all Filipinos. It's set in China. But I'm like, man, there are not, there's the, you named a couple of Filipino.
Yeah, Dave Bautista.
Thank you.
I think Vanessa Hudgens is like half.
Yeah. But, like, being in a film about Filipinos is so this is the first I've ever seen, so I 100% agree. I'm excited to see more Filipino representation in film. I love the idea of individual ethnicities, people from those ethnicities being able to control their own narrative.
Yes.
Don't tell me what our experience is. Let me tell you what our experience is. So the more representation, the better.
100%. He was the one who pitched the story. I'm glad that we heard all of that. Yeah, this wasn't Spielberg saying, "Oh, great, I think I could capitalize on this Filipino thing." It was pitch me a story, and so he was able to control what he wanted to include.
Yeah, and as a storyteller, like, what a dream. And
yeah,
I mean, as an adventurer, like, you have to have some grit to be like, ooh, I'm going to put myself out there, and people might not like, the thing that I'm creating here, or Filipinos might have issues with this story. They don't want to be portrayed as the bickering family, or, you know what I mean? Like, nobody wants their dirty laundry aired out there like that. But being able to do it in a way that's comical and authentic is pretty stinking brave, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Mixed Take. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or wherever you tune into your podcasts. Also, head over to worldoutspoken.com, a site preparing the Mestizo Church for cultural change, where you'll find information on consulting services, thought-provoking blog posts, and other great podcasts such as The Feature, Questions from the Pew, and the one and only Mestizo Podcast, the show for the mixed people of the mixed church. You can also make a donation to help us expand the ministry of the Mestizo Church. Your donation allows us to create content, train leaders, and develop partnerships around the world.
That's right. Special thanks to Ricky Padilla, who oversees all of it. He's the godfather of World Outspoken.
Whoop, whoop.
And special thanks to all the World Outspoken crew. We hope that you join us again as we continue to dive into the world of culture influencing content, creators, actors, artists, and all of the above. And until next time, cut.
It's a wrap.